to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The roll call, please.
Mr. Amendola?
Here.
Mr. Crowe? Here. Mr. Perry, Ms. Perry, I'm sorry. Here. Ms. Glasser, Ms. Stamets. Here. Mr. Rosario.
Here.
Mr. Lavasser.
Here.
Mayor Bloom.
Here.
Solicitor Gladys.
Here.
Engineer Strunk.
Here.
Public Works Director Kozarowski.
Here.
Thank you. I'd like to have the approval of the bill list for January 22nd, 2018.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. I'd like to have approval of the minutes for January 2nd, 2018 reorganization meeting.
So.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All that opposed? All right, motion carries. Approval of the minutes, January 8th, 2018, discussion meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Are you talking about the budget meeting?
No. No, that's the regular, discussion meeting.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All that opposed? All right, moving forward.
I don't know if there's anything on the agenda,
Does anybody have any subjects to discuss from the meeting agenda for this evening?
This is. Well, we do have a motion on the library, so I don't know what this is about. This is about appointment to for term.
Okay, well, I think we should just move forward. AJ, Bizarre. May Miss AJ Bizarre please come forward, 75 Bradford, subject being the library. Could you address yourself to council, please?
Yes, hi, everybody. AJ Kospirik, 75 Bradford, I have to do that, right? 75
Yep.
Bradford Avenue, Pittsburgh. I have two things. First is just some comments about the library situation, and then also I just wanted to start with a thank you to Rob and Ann and the rest of the Borough Public Works folks who helped us for Christmas. Everybody knows, you know, the elf is here. For those of you who I haven't worked with yet, I lead the Christmas volunteer decorating. We had great turnout of volunteers, even though it was Veterans Day, so that'll teach me next year not to do it when there's a parade competing for attention. So other than that, but again, thank you, Rob. Your guys did a great job and particularly helped us out down in the park, so we appreciate that. Second, I wanted to just offer a few thoughts about the library and the situation that's been going on. I know I haven't been at past meetings. I usually have, and canceled a prior commitment to be here tonight. Full disclosure, I have been asked to support and am supporting the search for the executive director position. Again, for those of you who don't know me, I have a background in human resources with 30 years of experience in hiring and selecting individuals, including executives. I have some experience, limited working with existing library directors and executives on staffing and team building and things of that nature. And I also chair our Civil Service Commission, which oversees the hiring and selection. So there was some fit between my background and the needs of the board at the moment in terms of filling the vacancy. So in full disclosure, that's a role that I have. And I think what I'd like to do is just share my perspective and ask for the help of council, as well as the community in a couple of ways. And so there are a couple of things that I'd like to share. One is that the library is a huge asset, we would all agree, to this community, and I don't think I've felt as strongly about anything since I felt about keeping the school in the community and keeping this a walking school and keeping Crafton Elementary here, which we were able to successfully do. And so I feel the same about the library, and I know all of you who are very vested in this and all of the community who are vested in it feel the same way. I know that no one likes to see people we know, respect, and appreciate be removed from their jobs. That's a horrible thing for anyone who is the recipient of that, as well as it's very difficult for those who have to make the decision. And I just want to recognize that that is difficult on all parts. It's also difficult in any event for those who live with the results of those decisions to figure out how to make sense of those and to move forward. And I know that that's what our community has been going through. So I recognize that, and we all have to figure out how to continue to do what is best for the community and move on. I'm also concerned a bit about the damage that that feels to be being placed on the people who made that difficult decision. In terms of the degree of emotion with which people are reacting to that, the degree of, let's see, how should I say it? I believe that people operate in the spirit of trust and respect, and that people do their very best. And I really would like to commend the board for dealing with what was apparently a very difficult situation. Anytime you release people who have long tenured service and have provided that, there has to be a reason for that, and it takes courage to step up to that. And so I just would like to cast my thanks and support to the board for making a very difficult and courageous decision, knowing that that would be difficult and probably was nobody's first choice. And so that is something that I firmly believe and would like others to perhaps consider that. I am sure the board didn't take this lightly. It was done with full understanding of the impact. I trust that if the board members unanimously agreed that there were violations that were substantive and required this dismissal, that I should accept that.
Okay, you have 30 more seconds for a thought.
Could I have one more minute? Is that possible?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you. And so I would like to, as I said, thank the board members by challenging board members in their decisions, and I understand that people are questioning that. I don't believe that we can really look somebody in the eye and say, you know, is this really what you mean? Yes, they voted for that. I believe our people that we put into positions operate with integrity and vote their conscience, and if that was their vote, that was it. That may or may not suit everyone, but I do think that if they don't do that, then what do we have in the people that we have in office? While I've not been at the other meetings, I do encourage everyone to really think about this and take a step back and be honest with ourselves. Are we biased for or against another person, a personality, past history, our own sense of justice based on the limited information that we have, and how much of that is clouding our judgment? And I can tell you that everybody in this room probably knows the time to make decisions is not when emotions are high. And right now, I think we've had many instances of very high emotions. And so I would like to ask the council's help in bringing it down and doing what we can to get us back on board. I'm also terribly saddened at the characterizations of people in our community who are good people, and our kids. I mean, there are kids who are affected in this. We've lost board members because of things that have been said, and it's very, very sad. And so what message does this send? So we've got a wonderful library. We're trying to fill an important vacancy. And the last thing I'd like to ask everybody to consider is we need an executive director who's going to help us maneuver these challenging times where more programs are needed, more fundraising is required, more technological adaptations, motivating the staff. It's going to take a very skilled person in any library today, and given our size and our budget and what we're trying to recruit for, we have a very difficult challenge ahead of us in recruiting the best candidate. If there's truth to the fact that the board is micromanaging, which is what has been said, then let's hire the level of professional that can deal with that. If there's truth to the fact that there's been micromanaging, perhaps it's possible that the person in that position had some areas that they weren't as strong in and needed to be micromanaged on. We can't know the details behind that. All I do know is recruiting an executive director into this position is going to be very difficult, and I believe we need to make the job as attractive as possible, including the ability to fill the vacancies that they have with the people they think are best for the job and that they can work with as the executive director. It'll be very difficult to not have them do that. So with that, I thank you. I appreciate your respect as always, and I wish everybody good luck with this. And you've got my support.
Thank you for your public service. Any other? No, that's it. That's it on the agenda section of citizen comments. I'd like to acknowledge the receipt of the written reports, including And these are the reports for November and December of 2017. We have the treasurer's report, the financial report, the Act 511 report, trash collection reports, the property tax collection report, annual police report, the EMS report, December and annual, the ordinance officer's report, the building inspection report, the public works report, the fire department report, and the library report. Does anybody have any questions on the reports? All right, next on the agenda, we have the mayor's report. Mr. Mayor, please.
I'd like to report, if nobody's seen the website or the Crime Watch report, that we had 2 homes that were entered late last week, one on Dinsmore and one on McMunn. The Dinsmore one resulted in a loss of electronics, and the McMunn Avenue one, there was nothing taken that was determined at that time. What I'd like for people to take a think about is those properties that I'm talking about all have back alleys. There's an alley behind McMunn, there's an alley behind Dinsmore. And this is important that any neighbors that live in that area, you see something strange during the day. This is where they're gonna make the entry, where it's least visible. It's not gonna be the front street, it's gonna be off the alley. So anybody that lives that has an alley behind their property, keep an eye out, and if you see something out of the ordinary, even if it just makes you think, then dial 911. Don't, think about it for a couple hours and find out later your neighbor's house was burglarized and, oh, I saw something strange. Well, let's, it's for everybody in the community. If you see something, call it in. It's easy to hide a vehicle, but that a police officer wouldn't know it, but the neighbors would say, why is that van in my neighbor's yard or in my neighbor's driveway behind the house? That's a key. Pick up the phone, give it a call, and call it in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the police department for all your service. Next on the agenda is our engineer's report. Mr. Strunk.
All right, thank you. All right, Rob and I are gonna get together, hopefully next week. I've been kind of giving them a break with all the snow and everything, but we will meet and discuss the 2018 road program. Obviously, we're looking for authorization to prepare plans and specs, but once we get a preliminary plan of the streets, we'll share them with you, and we can talk about that. We submitted a long-term control plan. Actually, that's down there. Let me go. So this is corrective action plan. You're talking about. We're talking about sewers here. So 2018, Shaycog is coming out with their 4 contracts, which is going to be CCTV, preventive maintenance, which is cleaning of the sewers, excavation, and lining contracts. All those will be coming out in the next month, and we have been working on quantities and repairs for those with last year's CCTV reviewing it. So as of right now, we're still working on those, but we'll get you updates as we get closer to having those finalized and budgets for those. The Shaycog joint lining project, this is from last year. This is their final application. This will close out the project for Crafton. The manhole rehab project, estimate number 2, we submitted that, recommending payment. That contractor is actually back in town as of noon today. They came back in to, they'll start the work tomorrow, but they came back in with their equipment today. We'll continue on the manhole rehab project. Obviously, the weather's been kind of rough for them to be working on that, but it's warming up a little bit, so they'll be out through this week. Under the NPDS general permit, we were required, the borough is required to send in an updated long-term control plan. Basically, we got it approved, therefore the NPDS renewal as well, so that's good news. we'll be working on some of those items in the next couple of years. And that's sewer related. Next on here is ADA ramp project. The contractor is actually out this week. They were setting up forms. They're working right now in the Union Cross area, and they will be pouring ADA ramps tomorrow. So, like I said, as the weather has gotten warmer, they're able to get back out there and get at it.
That's pretty brave, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on them. I mean, they realize the implications if there's issues with it, but I mean, you can pour
So they bring
concrete.
warming blankets out, or?
Yes, you can pour concrete in the cold, they'll have warm blankets on there. And obviously, when this is all said and done, they're gonna give us a 2-year maintenance bond. So if something happens with that concrete in that time, it's on them. So he understands the risk, we talked to him about that. We'll have a inspector out there making sure that they are putting warm blankets on there and that they're properly pouring in, that the mixed design is the right mixed design. So.
Thank you for letting me interrupt you.
Yeah, no problem. And then, last on here is a demo project. The contractor is complete with that. Again, we do have a maintenance bond on this as well. So we're aware that obviously the grass hasn't started growing and that from the restoration, but we will have a maintenance bond, making sure in the spring, if grass is not coming up, we'll get them back out there to either re-topsoil and see whatever needs to be done. So, but for now, we recommend paying them, not holding up payment for that, considering we do have a maintenance bond. So, and that's all I have for tonight.
Payment request for the demolition projects.
That's on
Yeah, okay, let's discuss that down the list. All right, we have the solicitor's report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's time to consider the service line utilities contract that was entered into May 31st of 2016. The contract by its term auto-renews year to year, so the next renewal date is May 31st of 2018. And to get out of the contract and terminate it, the borough has to give 90 days advance notice before the end of the term, so that the window is coming up to decide whether to let the contract renew or to terminate it. It's up to you, but I would recommend that if you are going to terminate it, that you do so in February to avoid any issues with time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Solicitor. I'm gonna briefly open the floor here to allow council to air their opinions on the subject. Anybody have any opinions, please raise your hand and you'll have, you proceed to have the floor. Yes, Ms.
I
Perry.
would say based on our experience and the confusion in the community, I would recommend that we drop the contract.
Does anybody else have any opinions?
I agree with Coletta.
All right. All right, that's good to hear. Would council, do we have a, I don't know if we need a motion, do you want to have a motion? Would somebody like to have a motion to direct the solicitor to send service line utilities a, what do you want to turn?
It's actually going to have to come from the borough manager.
Okay. All right, would you,
I would move to have the borough manager notify the company that our desire to not renew the contract.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you. All right, moving on to our business agenda. Personnel, we have a motion to authorize to advertise for summer recreation, pool, and public works employment.
So moved.
Second.
May I have some discussion?
What paper, how are we advertising?
Require,
What do you mean, how are we advertising in the post, is that in the, because that 2.0 is usually where we put an advertisement in. We've already had people coming in with applications already.
and on the website, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Do they put up on the sign at all? On the front?
Not usually, but, I mean, I guess we can.
Councilwoman Diamond, do you have any suggestions?
Are you starting now until, what's the end date?
We usually like to hire everybody in March. And so we can get all the lifeguards, we have to get bathing suits, we have to get t-shirts and, make sure we have all the equipment that they need. So usually the last meeting in March is when we like to determine that. Beginning of April, maybe.
Put up on the side for a couple of weeks anyway.
All right. Any other discussion? I'm gonna close the floor to discussion. May I have a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda, finance. A motion to authorize advertise revised 2018 budget as discussed and reviewed at the budget meeting of January 17, 2018 in accordance with section 1311 of the Borough Code.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Would there be some discussion on this? Is everybody ready to move forward with a vote?
Is it set on what was already on there basically, and just to add it to what we did at the meeting?
Correct.
It's already on the website.
All right. May I have a motion moved, pardon me. So there's no other discussion. I'm going to close the floor to discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All that opposed?
No.
All right, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Amendola,
No.
Mr. Kraus,
Yep.
Ms. Perry,
Yes.
Ms. Damas,
No.
Mr. Rosario,
Yes.
and Mr. Levesque.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next on the agenda is public safety. We have a motion to appoint David O'Brien as alternate member of the Civil Service Commission, term to expire February 1st of 2023.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All that opposed? All right, a motion to authorize the advertised Civil Service Commission meeting Monday, February 19th, 2018 at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All that opposed? All right. Next on the agenda is Public Works. We have the motion to authorize the engineer to begin preparing plans and specifications for the 2018 road program.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All that opposed? All right. Next on the list, authorize the payment for request number 3 and final Shaycog Joint Pipelining Project, year 11, in the amount of $23,519.54, as recommended by the engineer and included in the budget.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All that opposed? Motion to authorize payment request number 2, manhole rehabilitation project, estimate number 2, $18,000 for the amount of $18,100.80 to Standard Pipe Service, as recommended by the engineer and included in the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All that opposed? All right. A motion to authorize payment request number 1 and final to Jadell Minifield Construction Services in the amount of $22,250 for the 2017 house demolition project, as recommended by the engineer.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
What property is that for?
25 Sycamore and 70 Fountain.
And just to clarify, this is accruing against the 2018 budget, correct?
Sure.
Yep. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on, we have a motion for the library. We have a motion to authorize, advertise 2 appointments to the Crafton Public Library, 4-year term expiring 2022. Letters of interest submitted to the administration office by February 22nd, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to make one correction. I believe that the library board changed their bylaws to coincide for 3-year terms.
Okay.
You might want to check, but
Okay.
that was.
Yeah, see, they didn't provide me with any information, so I'll check. So it's a
Okay,
3-year term.
3-year as in the.
So it would be 2021.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
All right, so. Any other comments?
Yes, are we following the guidelines that were submitted to us by Ms. Jenkins of the Allegheny County Library Association? Did you read that?
Yes.
Are we adopting some of those,
Yes,
are we?
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. I think there's five
Yeah,
top.
and with what the board, the library board did, they've essentially come out of their grandfather era, and their bylaws are now modernized to meet current standards.
Are they using the same guidelines to recruit their board members, or what are they doing?
I
Well,
don't think
that's
anybody-
not our business, I guess. It's not our business.
I don't think any of
Yeah,
us.
That's it. It's not our business. Those are some good guidelines, and if we stay close to them, you know, we might be okay. Have you selected a committee to, you know, go through the selection process?
And,
Or how are you gonna handle that?
the,
Generally, the president comes into a meeting like this and says, are there some people that want to serve on the selection committee to find the people for the library board? And 2 or 3 people will volunteer, and they will, you know, have meetings and look at the resumes and interview the people, and then bring that back to council for an open discussion. So, did you plan on doing? Excuse me.
hold on, Mr. Amdahl has the floor.
Did you
right now.
plan on selecting a committee to, you know, do the?
If I may address you directly, my goal this evening was to have the motion advertised, and we as a council, as a body, would have that dialogue.
So you're not going to select a committee like we've done in the past in order to do the.
Your comments will be taken into consideration for our
You're
next
going to do it a
discussion.
different way.
I have no plans at this point. That's a dialogue for a discussion meeting.
Well, we're having the discussion. You wanted to have a discussion about the library situation.
Yeah, this is a business meeting, so we're gonna have this dialogue at the discussion meeting.
So
Thank you
we're
for
going to
your
talk
comments.
about it in 2 weeks.
Thank you for your input. We'll have this discussion at the discussion meeting in 2 weeks. Well,
So, okay.
yes,
Well, okay.
yes. There'll be open dialogue at the discussion meeting. Thank you.
There's a motion.
All right, we still have a motion on the floor. We have to actually modify language, so we're gonna have to kill this motion.
Just modify
You
it.
just want, all right.
Yeah, because she's
All right.
not even 100% sure,
I'm just
so,
asking you to check.
yeah, so I just have to check and see
All right.
what the expiration is, so.
All right, for all, may I have a vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All that opposed? All right, motion carries. And, next motion is for administration. A motion to authorize Crafton Elves to have a fundraising drive to convert all holiday lights to energy-efficient LED lights. Communication to residents asking $20 per household.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
So,
What is this program?
Okay, AJ, as she spoke, is in charge of the Crafton Elves, and they come and they along with the public works, they decorate the circle and the park and, you know, the signs and the front of the building and the walkway, the whole borough. And they're looking to convert, so they're looking to, instead of costing the borough, they wanted to convert and they wanted to ask for residential support. So they're asking permission to send a letter out and ask, you know, people for their support of the Crafton House.
Okay.
Did you want to say something?
Now, that's, I was gonna ask AJ, that this program's gonna go out to the community via some type of a letter to the community, is that correct?
We haven't yet determined the method, but yes, we wanted to just see if we can't get people to volunteer some support.
And it's
So-
definitely worthwhile for what I feel that the volunteers have done in this community for years, decorating the borough. And I think that, you know, donating $20 towards project upgrading things would be well worth it. Thank you.
Do we have a newsletter? Thank you, there's another newsletter going out.
We just sent one out with the garbage. You know, we could do something for the summer or.
Yeah, we can do
Or they,
something,
you know.
whenever's the next convenient time. We can do whatever, you know, we don't have to generate anything extra, but if we can piggyback onto something and then we'll do some other promotion.
What comes up.
All right,
I
may I
like
have
that, thank you.
moving on, may I have a vote? All those in favor? All that opposed? All right. Survived the motions here. All right, next on the agenda, our community announcements. All right. All right, and that was the same. I wanted to let everybody know in the community that I attended the Charter Westcog meeting this week. Actually, it was last week. And everybody's very pleased with the effort of our Public Works Department, and that includes Crafton Borough. We saw what happened to our adjacent neighboring community, the city of Pittsburgh, and their response. So I want to say thank you to Public Works. And then we have a blight workshop with our neighbors over in Ingram Borough. It's being led by LGA. It's Local Government Academy. Thank you. Many of us here on council have attended that course provided by that nonprofit. And Mr. Greg Butler now leads LGA, and Mr. Nucci, president of Ingram Council, is helping Mr. Butler host this blight workshop. It's for, Wednesday, February 21st from 7 to 9 p.m. The preference will be to try to fill the room with Crafton Ingram first, according to Mr. Nucci. So we're looking to see how many of council would like to attend, obviously, and then if there's any members of the community that would like to attend as well. And there is no cost. So, raise hands. All right. This is, all right.
Rob? He didn't really need names, I just really need numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted to fill it up with Crafton Ingram first and then open it up. So they
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that we had enough room,
Yes.
because there's only so many people that can
And
come.
Mr. Dave O'Brien, I think is in the room, correct? Are you still interested in attending, sir? The blight workshop with Ingram is going to be hosted by, or provided by LGA. It's on February 21st. Maybe you could get back to us.
Yeah, I'll let me get back, yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
Who's interested? Abby?
So we have this on the table. And then Mr. Amendola.
No, I'm not going.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm attending.
Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right.
Okay, I can call him tomorrow.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And then, just as another public service announcement, as you've seen on the police Facebook and on our website, please try to keep up with The rules and regulations pertaining clearing snow 24 hours after snowfalls occurred. It's very important. It's a safety issue, as you can see, in the community. And I thank the mayor for his comments this evening. And
One last thing I did forget from this one.
oh, we got the monies.
The first page.
Okay. Oh, and we have good news, and that's gonna go back to the general fund,
It goes into the capital improvement.
capital improvements. We received from Alcoasand for the rain garden project, a reimbursement of 67,000, is it?
872.
All right. So, and then we're expecting one more payment? or-
Well, yeah, as soon as we submit everything, but that's all
Alright.
we've submitted.
So that's good. So just so everybody knows that project down by the pool was partially underwritten by Alcoasand. So we appreciate their support. All right. Does anybody here from council have any announcements or anything that's occurred in the community that they'd like to have before to discuss?
Yeah, I have some discussion about this attorney thing. I think that at the budget meeting on the 17th, we had all sat here and talked about the attorneys and what was going on. Evidently, you and some others, council members, see a need to replace our law firm. And it was decided that you and Abby would contact the law firm and talk to one of the senior partners. Were you able to do that?
We were unable to discuss the subject with the law firm on Friday. We did have a meeting with the borough manager. Mr. Welch was unavailable to discuss with us, and I think we reached out to, was it Mr. Fiffick?
Yes, I believe it was. But they're also included in the interview listing.
Okay, so then you, at that meeting also, you said you were gonna be recusing yourself from discussions about the attorneys because your company knows lots of law firms, and you were gonna be
On the vote.
recusing yourself?
On the vote.
On the vote, okay.
Possibly, and actually I do not have to, thank you.
You don't have to?
No.
Okay. Well, so then, it seems to me from the memo that's here and from the notes from the manager's office that you and Mr. Rosario appointed yourselves to the committee for the selection of the new law firm without talking to Mr. Welch. Is that right? You appointed yourself, you and Mr. Excuse me. You don't have to wait. We're trying to do this as quickly and cleanly as possible. So you appointed yourself and Mr. Rosario. I mean, I suggested that the two of you talk to Mr. Welch.
Correct.
But I didn't suggest, or I don't think anyone on this board suggested that you start the recruiting process to find a new law firm. That, again, is something else that the president is supposed to go around the room, and he's supposed to see if anyone has an interest in a search committee for a new law firm, if that's what we have to do. I don't think we have to do that, and I'm gonna fight you guys all the way, but the president should select a committee to make a search, instead of you and Mr. Rosario doing it on your own. It seems like you've eliminated some law firms. Did you get, what are those things called, request for?
RFP.
Did you get some fresh RFPs, or are you working on ones from 4 years ago?
Under the recommendation of our borough manager, it was suggested that we retain the list that was done from 2014.
And work off of a list that's 4 years old?
Under the recommendation of our borough manager, yes.
So you're gonna blame Ann?
Under the recommendation of our borough manager,
Okay, well, do you plan on selecting a committee to do a search? And what did you base your eliminations of? There were several law firms. I went through that law firm choice years ago, 4 years ago. And there were lots more attorneys, law firms on that list. You eliminated those already. You and Mr. Rosario, is that right? You eliminated them already? without consulting with any of council or selecting a committee? I mean, is this a little snapshot of how this is gonna be all year?
May I have the floor for a moment, please?
Yes, Ms. Perry now has the floor, thank you.
If you would review the policies that were set up prior to 2 years ago about how committees work, it's an adopted policy. It is totally the purview of the president to appoint whatever committees, and it is also part of that policy that the president can elect to sit on any of those committees that the president so chooses.
Well, you're talking about committees to oversee public safety and to oversee all those things.
Any
Right.
committee, if you want.
Actually, can we maintain order on the floor, please? Are you finished speaking with Ms. Perry?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Amendola, would you like to have the floor? Thank you.
I want to know how this is going to be. Is this a little snapshot of how it's going to be for the whole year? That you and maybe one or two of the other council members are making the decisions in a back room, and then you come out here and say, well, this is what we're going to do. You know, you've started a selection process, you've eliminated, I don't know how many of the law firms, and why did you eliminate them? Based on what? How did you do that? I mean, we need to talk about that in public.
Thank you.
So what's your intentions?
Mr.
Is that how
Kraus,
you
would you like
intend
the
to run
floor?
your presidency?
Mr. Kraus now has the floor, thank you.
All right, just in general, I have a question. So you guys had RFPs that you did in 2014, correct? So we'd have to have another motion then to do a new set of RFPs. We could do that in theory here tonight?
In theory, sure.
Okay,
We have interviews scheduled.
okay,
And
so,
Welsh Gold's, Siegel and Pippic are included.
so they are included. So nobody's being eliminated then, is what I'm hearing? There's been no.
Yes, there are several.
Mr. Amendola, Mr. Kraus has the floor, thank you.
Excuse me.
So in 2014, you guys took whatever, I'm just gonna guess, 10 or whatever. So we're still considering that number, correct?
No, not according to his.
Mr. Amendola,
Well,
Mr. Kraus
answer
has
the
the floor.
question for him, so I don't have to.
Mr. Amendola, Mr. Kraus has the floor.
Yeah, but why don't you answer his question when he asks?
Mr. Amendola, Mr. Kraus has the floor.
So are we still gonna consider the 2014 law firms then, in this discussion? Yes?
Yes, but it was narrowed down. There's 4 firms that were interviewing. Out of the 10, 12 that are on the list. I'm not sure exactly the number.
Okay. And Welsh Gold Pippic is gonna be one of those, so they'll get a fair shake?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kraus.
So what did you base your,
Mr. Amendola, you
can I
don't
have the floor in?
No,
I can't have the floor?
no.
You know what, I sat here for the past 2 years and let you ramble on about
Mr.
rent.
Amendola, you do not have
And
the
now
floor.
I got
Mr.
some
Amendola,
important issues
Mr.
here.
Amendola, you do not have
And
the
you're,
floor.
you know,
Would there be any other members
I
of
can't have
council
the
that would like
floor?
to have the floor?
I can't
I
have the
think
floor, I can't
I'll take the
speak.
floor right
Mr.
now.
Amendola,
I can't speak.
pardon me,
I'm
Mr.
gonna get my own gavel, and I'm gonna
Mr.
gavel
Amendola,
you.
you do not have the floor. Please don't make me proceed any further. Would there be
You're
any
gonna
other
stop me-
members of
You're gonna
council?
stop me from
Would
discussing
Mr.
an important issue.
Would there be any other
I
members
saw
of
your
this
threat
council
in this
that would
memo
like to have the
from
floor?
a few days ago, that you were gonna invoke the rules of order and use
I
your
am
gavel.
invoking, Mr. Amendola, you are out of order. Thank you.
May I have the floor, please?
Yes, Mr. Kraus.
Thank you. I opt to maintain silence with a minute of floor time if I'm allowed.
Yes.
For God's sake, this is ridiculous.
I opt to cede the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kraus.
I've been here for
All
2
right.
years and I've never seen it.
I'd like to have a,
Circus.
I'd like to move on to additional citizen comments for this evening. Mr. Dennis Heck, pardon me, 14 Ingram Ave.
Yeah, he and I discussed
All
that
right.
before.
Good
I'm
there.
gonna work with the chief. and public works.
Aubrey Allen, 79 Taylor Street, regarding public safety.
Hi.
Hi. Could you please repeat?
Sure, yeah, I am Aubrey Allen of 79 Taylor Street. I was at the last session of 2017. I brought up some public safety issues that I felt were pertinent on Broadhead and Taylor. I want to say first, thank you for whoever was in charge of putting up the speeding signs. I definitely, I think, saw an improvement. However, they've since been removed, so they were up for about 3 weeks, and I was just hoping to understand what the process was there and to, understand, okay, thanks.
They both went on batteries.
Mm-hmm.
We took them down and recharged them, actually download the information, and we'll put them back up. Fortunately, with the weather, we haven't had the opportunity to go out and reset those.
Okay.
We can put them back up, they're ready to go tomorrow.
Where does that information go?
It goes into the system, it generates a report.
Where does that report go?
It goes to council, that report wasn't put into this packet, but it goes into a computerized system, and there's usually the chief of police and the mayor gets those reports.
Aubrey, the information that he can download from those radar machines will give you the volume of traffic,
Mm-hmm.
the speed of the volume,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the average speed. It's a long list, and when I get it printed out, I'll let you take a look at it.
I would be happy,
See,
yeah.
you'll be able to see exactly what you're talking about versus what actually happens, okay? So, and I will say this, that occasionally, and I did see it on one time, you'll get a large bird fly by the radar machine and set it off. We had one, when it was down on Fountain Street, it was 89 miles an hour by the radar machine. So we kind of like drew a
I
line
was
through
gonna
that.
say, a way to rule out the outliers or something, okay, fair enough, I appreciate that. Yeah, I was just hoping it was made public, so that we could take a look at that and just analyze the speed limit and who's taking advantage of that. My second point last meeting was also with regards to the brush that is hanging over in the street. We had talked about that being taken care of. I think there was ample opportunity for that to have been done. Of course, over the last week, we had some heavy snow. There's no snow this week. It's still hanging out in the road. In fact, I have a picture tonight. I wanted to give you enough time to take care of it, for the last minute, and before I came over here, I snapped a shot. It's hanging out so far into the road that people are using the other side of it as a parking spot. So an entire car is blocked.
We can trim that back. Actually, that's a
yeah.
paper street. So really, the borough, we can clear the right of way, but the maintenance of the paper street actually falls on the burden and responsibility of the property owners. What we'll do is we'll clear the right of way, and have brush hanging on in the street area.
I'm not sure, I've never heard of a paper street before, so if you could explain
Oh, no, a
that.
paper street, actually what it is, when the borough's developing the plan for houses and streets, there was a section of cartway going through the back of the homes on Crafton Boulevard, and homes on Taylor. They were originally designed to be a street on paper. They were never developed, they were never dedicated, they were never open.
Mhm.
So they actually on paper, it's listed, it's listed as a street, but it never was really dedicated and open as a street, so the burden, maintenance falls on the responsibility of budding property owners.
The paperwork that I submitted last week, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, shows that that's actually borough property, not so much a paper street. But that was what I had handed in, sorry, not last week, last month. It says that it's Crafton property, so that would fall to you to maintain it.
Yeah, well, we'll maintain it right away, correct.
Okay.
But I mean, we're not gonna, we'll cut back anything clearing on the street, but we
And
don't
you
go
can
back.
see it on this, how it hangs out into the street.
See, this is the paper street right here, see these lines? So it goes all the way here. We'll clear the street,
Okay.
definitely.
And then the same thing, the street sign is still buried within the bushes. So if you're not coming at it from, like St. Philip's Church direction, you don't know where you're going.
That was cleared actually the day after the council meeting. The right-hand side at Belvedere.
You can only see it coming from one direction. So if you don't clear this, you won't be able to ever see it coming
You're
from the
talking
other
about
direction.
Taylor and Broadhead.
Taylor and Broadhead.
Sure, we'll do that. That needs done, I see it.
Okay. And then I did see that, I don't know whether the leaves just fell off or what, but this is just kind of cleaned up, but could probably be done a little bit
That
better
probably
too.
was pushed through in the plowing process. And a lot of housing leaves were put out after they.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I would love to have seen, some improvement on those few things. And then finally, I think that you'll give some consideration to Taylor as you plan for 2018 road services, again, because that was pushed from 2016 to 2017, now 2018. Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you to all the residents that came to provide Crafton Borough Council and our staff comments. Thank you for your continued participation. I really hope to see more of you come to our meetings. So I'd like to move for adjournment, please.
I have some more discussion.
Seconded, or so moved.
I have more
Second.
discussion on a very important
All in
security.
favor?
Aye.
I have a discussion on a very important security matter. I have some more discussion.
All
You
opposed?
can't turn me off, man. You can't just shut me up.
So,
I have more
All the
discussion on a very
opposed-
important security matter. It needs to be heard in public, here, right now.
so I think we had a motion to adjourn the meeting.
You cannot
May I have
shut
a
me
roll call
up.
vote?
You cannot shut me up. I have an important, I'm still the public safety guy, aren't I? Am I still the public
Mr.
safety
Mayor,
guy?
could you please address the public safety concern after the meeting, please?
No, not after the meeting. It needs to be addressed in public.
Because it's a.
We have a problem.
It's a police, if it's related to an emergency or public safety, I think the best
How can you
agency,
shut me up?
entity.
You can't shut me up.
But at any rate, we had a motion to adjourn the meeting.
You guys go along with that? Huh?
May I have a
You go
roll
along
call
with that?
vote?
Leonard, you go along with this? Are you guys gonna just develop into like sheep and just go with whatever he wants to do like that?
Manager, please call.
Because that
roll
sure
call.
is what it's looking like.
I think you.
Come on.
Well, I think we had,
Abby, you're an attorney, right?
we had a motion for
Don't I have a right to
adjournment.
speak here? I mean,
We
speak
had a
up.
motion for adjournment.
Speak up, sir,
We're
with
having-
right. No. I got a
Excuse me.
gavel over here.
Excuse me.
Mr. Abby,
So I'm, thank
don't I have a
you.
right to speak as a council person?
That's not for me to say.
It's not for you to say? What about those
Can we-
rules?
can
What
we-
about
can we
those
see if we have
rules of,
If we
Robert's
have enough,
rules of
if we
order?
have enough,
I have a
votes to
security
adjourn the
issue that
meeting,
needs to be
we will close
addressed
the meeting.
immediately.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Amendola, do you want to close the meeting, adjourn?
No, I don't want to close the meeting. I got things to discuss.
Okay, Mr. Kraus?
Move to close the meeting, yes.
Phew.
Ms. Perry?
Close the meeting.
Ms. Damon?
Yes.
Ms. Rosario?
Yes.
What a bunch of phonies.
Yes,
Bunch of phonies.
thank you.
Fred, you have a wonderful.
Oh, yeah, okay. Meanwhile, we listen.